thank you for joining. Again, my name is Sean Campbell from Grundy's Plantscaping. Today we're going to be going over the benefits of becoming a registered trainer with the Green Plants for Green Buildings. Uh, I'm going to be presenting Rebecca from Bloom and Flourish in Colorado. Uh, Rebecca has
Hi.
owned company for the past 7 years, and she's been doing a significant amount of these presentations for the past year and has seen some great benefits from that. Uh, Before we jump into everything, since we don't have too many people here, can we just maybe go around and introduce ourselves and say where everybody's from real quick? So maybe Ms. Starr, we can start with you to introduce for one of our Green Plants for Green Building representative.
Yes. Hi, I'm Astara Markwell. I am the Green Plants for Green Buildings Administrator, and I also live in Colorado. And I stopped by Rebecca's shop yesterday, so that was neat.
Bless you. So, well, should we skip over you to last, Rebecca, and go through
Oh,
everybody else?
sure,
All right,
sure.
Joy. Oh, can she hear me? Is it? Hey, Julie, you want
Oh,
to
sorry, I
tell
thought you
you?
said Joy. Yes,
Oh,
here. I am Julie Farrow. I'm in California, beautiful Orange County, California, and the company is Plantscapers.
David. Oh, I can't hear him. So, all right, we can hear you. Well, glad you can hear us, David. How about Tim?
Hi everyone, Tim O'Neill from Plants by Design in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Thanks for joining. Looks like Nina just stepped away. Mike.
Oh, hello everybody. It's Mike Seneff. I'm founder of Natura and based in San Antonio, Texas. On the Green Plants for Green Buildings board as well. Sorry, I don't have my camera going. I'm driving and it just won't allow me to turn it on. So apologize for that. But I've been a registered trainer and we have registered trainers within the organization and see big value with it. So glad to be here.
Thanks, Mike. Nina, can we pop back to you?
Yeah, hi.
Yep.
I'm Nina. I work for, Xanadu Botanicals and Design, and we do plantscaping and moss walls and holiday decorating. And I've been a registered trainer since, I think it was 2020. So I've only done a few presentations because we've been very busy, but there were benefits from it, but I would like to hear more.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nina. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm Kevin Kelly with Kelly Mac Interior Escapes in Jersey. And we've been thinking about doing this for years and just haven't gotten around to it. So I'm hoping you guys can persuade me to take the plunge. And I'm working at home and I don't have good lighting right now, as you can see, because of where the sun is. So I'm going to leave my video off.
Thanks, Kevin. I will hop down to Maria.
I'm Maria, founder of Planted Souls in Mississauga, Canada. And I am not a trained, sorry, I'm not in the program yet, but I'm curious to learn more.
Sounds good. Thank you, Maria. And last one, Stasha, sorry, am I not pronouncing your name right? Sata, please correct me if I can't pronounce your name correctly. Oh. All right. How about let's jump into it here. So, Rebecca, you want to give us a little bit about who you are and maybe some of the jump into the benefits that you have received from doing these presentations over the past year?
Yeah. So I'm Rebecca from Bloom and Flourish. I started the company in 2018 and we've been growing like gangbusters ever since. My aim for this year at the beginning of the year was to really start. It was time to start getting our name out there a little bit more. And so one of the ways I wanted to do that was through the continuing education
credits with green plants and green buildings, and it's been great. We've seen a lot of return on investment on it. I mean, we get a job pretty much every time we do a presentation, and some of them are large jobs. It just seems like when you go out there and you're in front of them and they get to know you as a person and they see your expertise, it's almost it's like you're on their mind, and you almost, I feel like, I think over 50% of the time we get work from these. And at the start, I guess I was a little nervous, but the more you give, the better you get. And I guess I would say, like, at the beginning, maybe start doing presentations for things you know how to do already, to kind of get into it, maybe living walls or something else that you already know how to do. But I mean, there is a lot of demand. In fact, we've started now, we give one a month. We've got a calendar. We're booked out till mid next year. We've actually started to become more fussy with who we offer the talks to, because we know now who we're getting, what type of architecture design firms we're getting work from and which ones we're not. And so now we're trying to be really specific, like, okay, what's a A&D firm in town that we don't work with and we want to work with? We know they use plants, and so we really target those particular people. But I mean, when we offer CEUs, people take them because they need them. And if you're offering a free lunch too, that never hurts. But I think part of it is just for people getting to know you and knowing they can call you, and learning about your company personally. So there's benefits on that front, but also I feel like it gives you the framework, particularly with things like biophilia, to speak. It gives you knowledge and a framework to speak about things like biophilia in a way that's less general. You really can come across as the expert because you've been given the framework for how to talk about these things.
And also, I want to open, as we're going through some of these questions, I'd love to open up the floor. If anybody has questions when we're touching past any section, please don't hesitate to ask as we're going through. But I do agree with Rebecca. A lot of times the things I've heard when we come to do these CEU presentations, the architects are very excited because usually they're learning about HVAC systems or drywall or stuff like that. So it's very boring and mundane, building systems. And we're coming in, we're bringing in the vibrant life of plants and biophilia, and it's this, I don't want to call it trending because trends go away, but it's this new architecture. We're becoming more of an integral part, building components as plants. We're not an afterthought anymore. And people are very excited to hear about this stuff, and they're much more engaged with us coming in than the guy's going to be teaching them about, you need to have this certain HVAC unit for your building and stuff like that. And you say coming in and being the professional, right? So we're coming in. So we are an accredited organization. Our CU programs are accredited with these organizations with, from AIA to ASLA to BOMA to IFMA. So we're coming in and being we are being looked at as the professionals. So when they need to reach out to a professional, who do they think of? Rebecca, because she's going out and making these presentations. Who are they going to lean on? The people that are teaching them about this. So
yeah. I do think that when these architecture design firms, their clients want it. They want to do biophilic design, and they want to have a partner that they know they can trust to implement them. And I think, we can put 25% of our own photos into these presentations. And I always make sure I point out that these are our projects and this is what we've done. So that gives you credibility as well. Look, this is what we can do.
Right. And like you said, we are, I don't want to, I guess I'll just use this word. It's not the correct word. We are legally allowed to update these up to 25% of the presentation. We can make it our own and make edits. After that, it could affect the CEU accreditation, but we are allowed to edit these and put our own photos and some of our own verbiage in up to 25% of the slide deck for that.
I think it's smart to do that too.
Oh,
Do
absolutely.
you do that, Sean?
Yes, I do. Yes, I can point. Hey, as you said, it gives you credibility. I point, hey, we did this project for this customer. A little bit of name dropping when you're going in, like, oh, that architecture firm might know that development firm that you're working with. So you try to, web that stuff together to kind of get, to show your credibility. We are credible companies doing this work, but we're presenting our credibility to, these architects and designers out there. So. Absolutely. So, but I also like what you brought up because, and we had talked about this on the phone earlier, is starting with a presentation that you guys are more comfortable with. I'm very comfortable, and Rebecca, we were talking about this before with green walls or moss walls, because we do those day in and day out. The economics of Biophilia's presentation has been updated, but in the past it was very technical data. And it was for me when I did that presentation, it was almost like I was reading off of the presentation. It wasn't very organic. It wasn't, they could tell I was just reading data off of this. And that was the feedback I had gotten with that. But for like the green walls and moss walls, something that we do on and we on a daily basis, it just flows off the tongue. And until you kind of get that, till you get your feet underneath you and you've done a bunch of these presentations, just doing stuff that you guys are comfortable,
The other thing I think is doing a presentation, a new one for you. The newest biophilia, I think it's called Nature's Blueprint, something about biophilic design. That one is very natural, I think. It is a hot topic. It's the one we get asked for the most. But I would, doing that more, the biophilia one, I think doing one and then maybe offering to these people, okay, I will do the living wall one, the moss wall one, or you don't necessarily offer them the ones that you're not comfortable with. So that way you're not learning a new one every single time. If you don't have the time or you don't want to do that, maybe get comfortable with the ones, do certain ones more for a start.
Hey, Rebecca, I've got a question along those lines. Say you're familiar with a couple of CEU presentations. Do you give your these architecture firms a choice, saying, "Hey, I can speak on this, or I can speak on that," and then they can choose, or do you kind of steer it? And then if you do kind of steer it towards one, have you done multiple presentations to the same firm, like on one topic, say biophilia, then follow up again months later on the living wall or moss wall topic?
We have done that. We've given presentations on the most popular ones. Most popular is the biophilia talks. Second most popular is living walls, which of course, at architecture design firms, that's exactly who you want to be presenting that to, because living walls, obviously you want to get in on the front end with that. Yeah, I think we do drive it. I will usually offer, depending on how much time I've got. If I know the next month or so I'm going to be nuts busy, I'll only offer them ones that we've given before. And sometimes I'll add on one that I want to do. I'll leave off ones that I don't want to do. That's kind of how I steer it. Mike, how about you?
Oh, okay, I'm back. Yeah, when we've done them, we've always had the topic, what it is, whether it's like the economics of biophilic design. It's like, hey, we've got this presentation and this is what it is. I don't give the talks directly myself anymore, so I couldn't tell you if we're doing multiple talks to the same firm. I think it's a great idea because, like any other relationship, the more often you're in front of them, the deeper the relationship is. So I think, offering two or more over the course of the year or two, I think is a great idea.
And I would say, Mike, that more often than not, people are asking us before we've even left the building, when can we come back and do another one? The feedback I get is that ours are a lot less dry than the other talks they have to sit through.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear.
Rebecca, when you do a presentation, how long does it take? like a range from like when people are reaching out to you to inquire about a project?
We've done them on short turnarounds. Sometimes it's something that we are, say, we're trying to sell a living wall, and we're talking to these people already. I'll say, hey, do you want a living wall presentation? We'd love to do one. Why don't I come give lunch? And we talk about them. We get to show them all our walls in great detail. And that's, it's a real sales pitch, I think. It's not a sales pitch, but it kind of is like a secret one.
Hey,
but yeah, sometimes it's months out. We're booking them months out now. Sorry, Julie, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You had said, thank you so much. It's really, really powerful information. I love the option. I love the idea of giving options and going back repeatedly to the same firm. I never even thought about that. It's so evident now that you said that. But you said something that I thought was interesting. You said you're very particular on which A&D firms that you go to. Can you give us a little feedback of what research that you've done? Because I know I agree with you. I went to one, and because it was a CEU, it was all the IT company for the A&D community because they all needed CEUs, and there was not anybody in the audience. That's a bad example. I've had really good experiences, but what have you done to research to find out it is a right fit?
It's less, I think it's less research. It's more, you go and give one. We gave one to a company that does more kind of rec centers and stuff.
Okay.
And we we didn't really know that that's all they did.
Yeah.
I guess looking on the website before.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And we had another one that was recently. They were like, oh, we got in there. There was only a couple of designers. It was a company that we had worked with before, but it had been a while ago. And again, we were trying to get there was a potential job coming up, and kind of sometimes we use that as, hey, they're talking to us for like, hey, maybe it's stalled a bit. They're not getting back to you or whatever. You'd be like, would you like a CEU presentation? Let's try and get this ball rolling,
Brilliant.
But then when we got there for this one, there were 3 designers in there, which was fine, but they were like, oh yeah, no, the architects have we were doing living walls too, how to specify living walls. And the architects had their own one going on at the same time. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. It didn't even occur to me that the architects would be having their talk in a separate room, something complete. I'm just like, this is perfect for architects. So I think we're going back to doing that presentation and have all of them there.
Yeah.
So that's a couple of instances, and with anything, it's just like your contract is made up of things that have messed up. Well, not that these can ever really mess up, but it's like, next time I'm going to ask that question.
Right.
Is everyone going to be there?
Yeah.
I'm going to really research, well, does this type of architecture design firm, do they seem like people who would probably use a lot of plants? So now we're doing it more because we're booked out through like mid next year now. Now we're like, okay, there's this architecture design firm. I know they use plants. I see it. They have not used us. Like, I want to get in with them. So we've got a list of people we want to get in front of.
Okay. I love that. And then I don't know, is there a great marketing plan that you found to be successful, like sending an email out, introducing yourselves? Do you talk about the food? Like, can you give us it? Because I find that all those things sometimes are helpful or not. I don't know. I'd love to know what's working and what's not.
I tend not to. We have sent out emails. I tend to find, if I'm at the Crew or BOMA or just anywhere you meet these people, like design, any kind of networking events or whatever, I'll go up to someone and say, hey, I'm Rebecca. This is what we do. We do CEU presentations. Would you like? And I don't think most people want them. Maybe I'm just really persuasive. I don't know. But we have way better luck with asking people in person than.
Okay.
But sometimes, with those design firms that you want to get into, but you haven't quite got a connection, it's more of a phone call. But we have had less luck with that.
Okay, good. Good to know.
but there seems to be no shortage of takers. I mean, do you see that same thing? Like everyone wants these.
I do. The struggle that I have, to be quite honest with you, is we weren't getting the top designers or the top architects in the room because they're so busy. They were just giving like the young, I mean, I'm not complaining, but we want our time to be valuable because it's very expensive and it's a lot of time. So I'm wondering if there's something that we're doing wrong. I guess it's if they're interested, they're interested. If they're not, they're not. There's really so much you can do. But we were getting a lot of like the juniors in, or like the IT department, or people that were just there to get the CEUs, where my top person that I wanted to communicate with wasn't there. And it was kind of a disappointment. But
we have that sometimes too.
Yeah.
I don't know how to predict that. People who just want the free lunch, the receptionist or whatever. Yeah. We definitely get that. But I also feel like, you know, if you're talking to all their, I don't know, underlings or the lower level people, who are they going to ask to do the research to find?
But you know what? I think the key to this, you guys, Rebecca and Mike, you were talking about, is giving them a choice. Like, what is coming up in your firm? Like, what do you guys need from us? We have these 5 topics or whatever, and let them choose. And that way, maybe the principal of the design firm will say, wow, I really need this for my firm. And therefore, we'll get more people that are interested in what we offer. I think that's really powerful. So I'm excited about that.
Great. Thank you, Joy, for hopping in here. So Rebecca, when you do these presentations, are you bringing any type of samples or plants, or how? I guess this is a two-part question. Samples, how do you coordinate the food, and then how do you keep the people involved in the CE presentations engaged and contributing to the presentation?
Yes. We typically do Panera. It can get so, I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Everyone, even if you've got 5 people, there'll be one gluten-free, one, you know, like it definitely gets complicated. So we always ask that, but we tend to just do Panera because then we can get salads, we can get whatever. And we've got kind of what we get normally, so it doesn't get out of control, because sometimes they'll say, oh, there's this great place across the street, and then, you know, I want X, Y, and Z, and it ends up getting out of control cost-wise. So we kind of just say, this is what we get. We get it locally. Let us know if you have any food allergies or whatever. And then I don't seem to have any problem with engagement. There's very few presentations I go to. Most people are very interested. And, you know, I tend to ask them, you know, if it's an architect design firm, how do you, you know, without veering too much off, like, how do you implement this type of thing in your firm? And I find engagement is not an issue. And how about you?
No, I haven't had any type of engagement issues. Usually, people are usually asking questions. I usually do bring some samples, and so people can touch and put their hands on the green walls. You know, I'll have like a panel that's unplanted, and then I'll have a planted panel, you know, like in a tray system, and just show them like how the irrigation would work, how it drops down between trays and stuff like that, and just uh and then sometimes we'll bring giveaways, you know, like we might do like little, like, you know, little picture frame moss walls that we'll give away, and we'll have our information on the back of it so that they have something to bring home with them, or a plant giveaway, you
That's a
know,
good
somebody
idea.
engaging and stuff, you know, ask them to see if they have any type of plant knowledge. If anybody does, you know, they can, you know, they get a plant to bring home or something like that, just to try to make it fun and a little interactive for people as well. So.
That's a great idea. We always bring something to touch and feel, and because people like that. But we hadn't done giveaways. That's a smart idea.
And I always label them, you know, either get a stencil like on the back of them, and, you know, spray paint our logo on the back of it, or a business card or something along those lines. And I think we found that like Michael's, like, they're just little picture frames. They're a couple of dollars, and we'll just, you know, make a little cool little moss art out of it. And it's, you know, it's a 1 foot by, you know, it's a 1 by 1 square or something, and it's just a little bit to give away, you know. So it just keeps it, you know, they put it in their office and they're always looking at that thing. Oh, Grundy's did this, or Bloom and Flourish did it, or whoever. It's always kind of just says swag giveaways just to keep you top of mind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, Yeah. Uh,
John or Rebecca, I got a question. So when you're going and you're delivering these, can you talk a little bit about who you're bringing? Like, is it just you? Are you going by yourself? Are you bringing a helper? Who else is in the room?
I usually bring my designers. No, they're so sick of hearing me do these things now, I think, but they know them off by heart. But that's good because, if they can speak that language of biophilic design as well, that helps them sell. They know where we're coming from, what we're trying to sell, what we're trying to do. But I also want the clients to be introduced to the designers, because really what's going to happen is that client's going to call me. I'm going to say, here's Shelby, here's Lisa, here's Mike, they're who they're going to work with. So I just think it helps the client meet the people, that we've got. Because these are our designers. These are who are bringing the biophilia to you, specifying the plants and containers. And so we tend to, sometimes they can't go, but mainly I bring an entourage. Sometimes there's more of us than there is of them. But
intimidation.
Yeah. You will buy plants.
We outnumber you.
what's up, Jan?
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I was teaching a very long time employee Excel formulas because I'm sick of I'm like, stop using the calculator.
Rebecca, has any of these registered, so I know I have learned a lot from some of these programs, some stuff that I didn't even know, but has any of these programs equipped you to advocate for the health and productivity of plants for the built environment?
Oh yeah, for sure. I only knew about biophilic design in very generic, simple terms before. I didn't really know the specifics. And I think it's hard to pass yourself off as an expert, when you really don't have good information. But Green Plants for Green Buildings really, building off Terrapin Bright Greens framework, that really is a great framework. And most designers don't even know about it, but to give them, the 3 pillars of biophilic design, and then, the 14 parts within it, and giving examples of each. And, after you've given a few of these presentations, you really can speak to it. And I think you do come off as an expert, especially when you're not just saying plants do that, you're talking about all the different factors of it. So it doesn't look like you're just trying to sell plants, even though you are.
Can I comment on that? That's something I saw Mark Minnie talk about last year. I think it was at TPAE, and it really made me think, because I had on my LinkedIn profile I was a biophilic designer, but we're really not. I do know every aspect of it, but am I going so far ahead to say you need these type of windows to bring in the light, or this type of, like, we will give recommendations, right? But we're really biophilic landscape designers is what I've changed my wording to, because I think that there are certifications I'm thinking about taking and all that, but to be a biophilic designer, you have to read, like a Terrapin Bright Green. They're biophilic designers because they go very ahead of us in a project to talk about the building and talk about the light levels and talk about the wood. Like, are we specifying wood in a building? No, we are. We come in at a very crucial point, the biophilia part, the biophilia, the plant part of it, but we're biophilic plantscape designers. But I think people really appreciate that, saying, hey, but they do appreciate over and above if you want to talk about other things that add to biophilic design, like aromatherapy and things like, sense, sound, talk about really, you guys are going to really dive in the thermal regulation. There's a lot of stuff to study. Like, but giving examples, Julie, have you ever talked about like just the thermal regulation? Wood could be the same temperature as a metal table. I get into it because I'm understanding it more, but it may be the same surface temperature, but the wood will feel warmer. Even though it's the same exact temperature as the metal. So the more we're educated and the more like we can teach a lot.
I love that. I just deem that everyone on this call now changes their title to a biophilic plantscape designer. Seriously.
Landscape.
I love that.
Check.
So, one of the things I've seen over it's been a really cool thing that I've seen over the past, I don't know, 5 years since I've been on Green Plants for Green Buildings board is that 5, 6 years ago, nobody knew what the word biophilia was. And now people are reaching out to us and saying they need to add biophilic elements to their space. So, I know for green plants or green buildings, sometimes people don't understand exactly what we do. We are the industry's PR arm to try to, push out the benefits of plants in the built environment. And I think part of these presentations that a lot of the members have been doing, throughout the country, and the Green Plants for Green Building Board has been doing more on a national and international level. The word has gone out, and people are using the terminology. They're bringing our terminology to us. Not saying we created biophilia, but people are coming to us saying we need to add this. Can you help us add these things? Are people seeing more of that throughout the country instead of having to teach what biophilia is? Are people coming to you and asking for that?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. How about Kevin? You in New Jersey?
Yeah. Yes. Hey, Jan, how are you?
Good.
So,
I have
I
a
think
technical question if I can jump in, unless Julie, you're still answering. Can someone talk about the equipment that you bring to the presentations?
I always bring is it an HDMI cord and just my computer because you want to, and that's all. Most of the time they have it. I guess one thing to ask is if they have like a TV or something like that. You could always bring a TV with you too, but we haven't had to do that.
Be careful about this. Most of the places are equipped, right? Because they're really nice architectural firms usually. But if you have an Apple, which I do, always bring the adapters. Bring as much stuff as possible.
I have that problem too.
Yeah, that is.
I always bring a backup thumb drive with the presentation on it as well.
Don't rely on any type of
my computer
or the
whatever, so I always bring. But yeah, the equipment, yes, usually just a laptop, HDMI cord, and a backup thumb drive.
You want to get
I guess
a pointer, if you want to use your own pointer.
A wand.
Yeah.
One thing I would say, this was one of my earlier ones. I was giving a presentation. I think there ended up being 55 to ASID, and there's 55 designers there. And I was like, I had asked before, but no one had gotten back to me. And it was in a design center kind of thing. It wasn't really in anyone's office. And I found out 2 days before that they had no AV equipment, none. And so anyway, we ended up getting, it was marginal, it was subpar. They ended up buying like a screen that they, projected onto, and the microphones were a little dodgy. But yeah, ask that well ahead of time. And if they don't answer you, push, because you don't want to find out about that the day before, like I did, especially to a really large presentation.
Did you all talk about the extras fun things to do to make the audience?
You joined right as we're wrapping that up. So yeah. So, Jan, you want to go into it? Jan has, Jan does presentations. You want to give maybe how you get, we touched on right before you joined the conference call about, engagement and how to keep people engaged and stuff like that.
It's total, the plant trivia. We come with the questions ready to go. We have the gift plants, and we don't buy a gift plant for everybody. We maybe half the crowd, maybe a third of the crowd, depends. That is so huge, and they get really competitive. Have you noticed that? Who does that in the room? Who gives away plants, but you got to make them work for it?
So we don't make them work for it. We give it away.
Yeah,
We
no.
give swag away for everybody.
Full
But
swag. Yeah, I mean, I think I've done it both
well, I
ways.
said like so. I was talking about like we
Fun.
do little picture frame moss walls that we'll give with our logos on the back of it and stuff like that, and our
Yeah.
cards and stuff like that.
So Jan, are those giveaways? Is that the result of after the presentation, like who can remember, like quizzing them on
No,
what you actually
well,
talked about, or how do you give those away?
So the way you do it is if you're talking for a solid hour, they're like, okay, this is a lot. I every 15 minutes take a break at least, brain break. I'm like, here we go. And then I usually have my person in training or Sam will come with me, our director of marketing. I'll always have somebody with me. It really helps to bring somebody because there's always something that needs to happen, right? And I'll let them say the question and then whoever, and that's always, who wants to raise their hand, who shouts it out, all that. But it breaks up the monotony of the whole hour. I mean, it's a constant, and maybe there's a lot of creatives in the room, and a lot of us have ADHD, squirreling, whatever you want to call it. So it's so much fun to break it up all the way through, as long as you're comfortable being able to do that, because that's the fun part of it. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And if you kind of relate, hey, how do you win? It's like related to what you just talked about for the previous 15 minutes. It just reinforces what they're
what is
learning.
biophilia? Some of this questions, but sometimes I'll do like, where does the cactus come from or something like that. I don't know. We do definitely do plant questions, but we'll kind of reach into that. And we usually give a good sized, beautiful ceramic pot with a nice 6-inch, nice planters, something upscale. And then you can give swag and all that fun stuff. So that's a tip. And then did you guys talk about always buy a good lunch? Don't be cheap. Seriously. You give them a bad lunch, they will never hire you.
You said be cheap. Come to Panera.
Can't be cheap. You got to give them some good lunch. Yeah,
Hey,
that's
I've got a question for those of you that do a lot of these. Our CEUs are accredited with AIA, American Institute of Architects, the ASID, Design Community, SHARM, the Green Building Council. Have you gone across the board and had equal effectiveness, or for those that are just getting started, what segment would you go to first?
Well,
Dave.
most of my presentations have either been at AIA with people I'm working directly with that, or with my relationships within BOMA when they do allow for associate members to do presentations, because I have a relationship with BOMA, or the people that usually spec us are architects, so that's how I usually infiltrate my way into their organization. So
yeah.
AIA is number one for us. And then second is I think we need to work a lot more with landscape architects people, because we just got awarded a ridiculously huge job. And it was almost like, here's a spreadsheet, fill it out, and we won. It was a joke. I mean, but it's so big. But now we have to go back and say, on the bid, we were like, no, you can't have this plant, but it's full of English ivies, aspidistras that are full of spider mite we don't want. So now, but it was a total, landscape architect. They spec native mahoganies, Ficus benjaminas. Who sells those? Anybody?
Landscape architects that don't know any better.
Miss Sarah, thanks for that. What was in the chat, you guys? The IDCEC, the Interior Design Continuing Education Council, represents both ASID and IIDA. But since our human resource manager is in the room here, Heather, most recently we were able to get our programs accredited with SHARM, Society for Human Resource Management. And we did one presentation to your local chapter, but how much of a focus do you think there is with the human resource professionals on building our office space wellness and that type of thing, where like, do you think there's an avenue that these presentations could compel them to make more decisions, so they could influence the C-suite towards using more plants?
So of course the return to work initiative that's happening, everyone's going back into their office. That's a big push. Mental wellness. Employee well-being as a whole right now is a huge trend for 2025, and that encompasses everything from mental well-being to getting out in nature, grounding, things like that. So I think just employee wellness as a whole has a huge push and initiative for our interior scape industry in 2025.
Yeah.
And I think we could update a little bit or just add a few slides to maybe the newest presentation, because I think a little bit more on for SHRM especially, the immersion room thing. So we just did a couple, and one of them is so popular. It's like it's in a place, it's a public space, but yet you can only get in if you're a tenant, so you have to sign up for the room. Okay. So my design executive went to go because they wanted some holiday decor in there, and she went on the QR code to sign up to make a reservation. She couldn't get in; it was booked all day. And I'm going to try and get a testimonial. People are using these this whole concept of getting away, this was like the best news ever. But I think if we can expand in some of these presentations on the immersive experience, being in a jungle room, immersive room, a nature nook, as well as what you were saying about don't underestimate the power of the plant party. It sounds like $50 a piece or whatever. It sounds small, but it's so big, and the bonding with your clients. If you offer it and your competitor doesn't or whatever, those can be really, really good, because there's a lot of little guys out there doing these little succulent garden making and all that. But we're in the building. We should really be thinking about, like, we're doing a lot of those, and the bonding with the clients are huge. And you could talk about biophilia. That's one of the things. Does anybody know what biophilia is?
You charge for those plant things, Jen? Or
Yeah,
do
we
you do
do.
it
And they're like, are you kidding? They're eating it up. I mean, they're just like, we can't.
We've done some recently too.
Yeah, but we did do, which I think, if you could put it in your marketing budget, last year we did several year-end property manager plant parties for free. So we literally would invite all of Rock Hill Management property managers to come, even if they were ours and maybe some of them weren't. And at that last one, it was a big place called ARE, Alexandria Real Estate, and they own so many properties. Now, we don't do all of them. We do a lot of them. Guess what? The immersion room came out of that plant party, because we started talking about it. I was excited about it. I'm like, you want to be a first adopter? Boom, a year later, it happened, and it's very popular. And they're like, so now that's going to go to every single one of those ARE accounts. So we're going to start the process of, standardizing it.
I actually want to bring it back to Kevin's question about the equipment. This isn't per se equipment, but if we're going in there and making these presentations for people with, that want the CEU accreditation, we have to bring remind me, because it's been a little bit since I've done these, the sign-in forms, and they need to sign in. They need to provide their whatever their identification number is, and then we have to submit that back to Green Plants for Green Buildings, to Mistara, and then they, through their magic behind the scenes, report it so that they actually get accredited with what they're supposed to be accredited for. So
yeah, on that note, Sean, we'll have an opportunity at TPIE to kind of go over more of the logistics. Rebecca's going to help host a registered trainer seminar and kind of go over the logistics and the toolkit, where to find each of these things, the cost of each program, and some of those details more at TPIE if you are able to join us. I will also try to record so we can share that via socials and our YouTube channel as well. You're also welcome to reach out to me directly anytime. And
the star is a font of information. I call her almost every single time I do a presentation. I'm like, where is this? It's always where it's supposed to be. I just sometimes have a hard time finding it.
And the one benefit with that, if you guys do any type of email marketing campaign, when they have to sign in, they have to provide their email. So you get their contact information, and then you can add them into your CRM programs and your monthly mail, email blasts and stuff like that.
But don't you have to ask permission for that, though?
Ask for forgiveness, not for forgiveness.
I like that. I like.
Nina had a question. She said, "Do you announce when there are updates to the presentations?"
We would if we did. You can all change 25% of it
Yes.
up to, so be reasonable. But if you wanted to add your own and expand upon, you just got to be careful because it's not like, per se your company's presentation. You can add some of maybe your work, but again, you can't change a lot. 25%, it's a pretty good amount actually. But I mean, I would say expand. Ms. Tara, can you answer this? I
Well,
know.
and then just to top off that, so like we're supposed to be representatives of green plants for green buildings. I'm not going in and being a representative for Grundy's. I'm going in and being a representative for green plants for green buildings, and perhaps there is some information about Grundy's there as well, but I'm acting as a representative for green plants for green buildings.
So yeah, at the end of the presentation, when the hour is done, you can do a dog and pony show. That's the way you do it. Typically, we used to just do a couple slides. I forget all about it. But again, having a couple of your services now that it's officially done, then you can say, I'm here and this is what we do. These are our services, and ask any questions about my company or whatever. But there's a line where you stop and then you take your green plants hat off and you put your hat on.
One thing that we've done that's been really powerful is if we're going to see a architect that we work with, that we've done work for, we put the projects in and we highlight them. Yeah. And another thing that we found really powerful is different design firms. They really like seeing what other design firms are doing. So yeah, if they'll go, oh, I didn't know Hendy was doing that. They use plants, like that mentality is really powerful. So we always stream it towards, is it an architect? Who are they working with? It's just kind of like being in their world. They really like
kind of name dropping a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit without being obvious about it. And then always put in, if you've done work with a architect or design firm, because I had someone raise their hand and said, how come our project wasn't listed in there? I'm like, oh my gosh. So now it is.
There are hidden slides. Let me ask Ms. Dara, or maybe some of you who's done the recent one. There are hidden slides in there if you want to expand, which I didn't realize. I think that when there was a couple people on the board that was reviewing the new one, I was like doing the presentation. I'm like, where's the slides on attention restoration theory? And I was like, so I guess, and I'll double check this for you. Ms. Dara can get back to everybody. But there are extra slides in there because, it can get pretty beefy, right? It can be pretty long. I think that what the goal was for this new presentation is to bring light to some of the other theories like ART and things like that. And so I think a couple of those slides were hidden, but they're in there. You just have to go work with PowerPoint and get them to come up again. Has anybody come across that, Julie? Have you done the new one yet?
I have not. This is all 2025. This is such great timing to have this. But I wanted to ask, is the TPI, is that on the website? Is that scheduled?
If you go to events on gpgb.org, you'll find it. You can register, but you can walk in the day of as well.
And is it a specific one that they are training down at TPIE?
No, it's going to be very general. This is how the logistics of everything, but anybody who does attend in person will receive the How to Specify Living While CEU for free. So you do want to come and claim that.
And the rest of them, if we wanted to, they're at home trainings, correct?
Correct.
So if
home studies.
Home studies. And then so I could say, hey, I want to get the advanced green wall presentation or the economics of biophilia, and you can purchase them singularly, correct?
You can, but last year we rolled out the concept of bundle. So for $4.95, which is the best deal because otherwise they're $2.25 each, you're kind of in a forever bundle of GPGB CEUs. So that's the best bet. Also, if you're a supporter at certain levels, you receive, like at the $199 a month, biophilic enthusiast level, you get a free registered trainer, and you also get access to all GPGB slide decks. So the company will get full access to the uncredentialed slide decks, which means you can use them for training in-house, you can use them for other trainings, but you will need a registered trainer to get the credential slide decks to present for continued education credits. And registered trainers do have a fee of $250 annually. That helps us pay to create these CUs. That helps support us getting them renewed with each of these accreditation agencies as well.
Getting new slide decks.
I would say that the return on investment is very good. If you actually do them,
Yeah.
I say that because I registered for 1 year and I didn't do any. And now this year we've done a ton. The return on investment is really good.
It's huge, especially doing it for the last 20 years or whatever, how long. Yeah.
And you get in front of the people that are specifying stuff, right? So, you talked about getting in with, I know a lot of us do green walls and moss walls, but like what is the most important time to get in with a green wall is before they start renovations, or in the process of building, not when the suite's completed, so that you're in the forefront of the actual building plan. And who they usually lean on is, the architects kind of pick some of their suppliers, and so they bring you in the front end of the project instead of the back end of the project.
And it's quicker turnaround. Years ago, the ROI on it, you couldn't really see it because it was just almost like we're trying to convince them. Now, I literally had a month or so ago a CEU, and we just had a big phone call with a huge new thing for this architect that we met with. So the ROI is so much quicker than it has ever been. It's like for the longest time, like, what is the ROI? I know it's good for the industry, and now we are the biophilic consultants for these landscaping consultants, and we are being hired per hour for our work for design.
I just want to add, anybody that is doing the presentations at the end, if you find there's questions or people want a little bit of a deeper dive into one topic, whether it's more with wellness, with the advanced attention restoration theory, or maybe it's more technical, like tell me about planting techniques or container styles or whatever the interest seems to be, please report it back. That way, we're always looking to develop our portfolio of CEU programs. So if we're finding or hearing from our customers, the architects themselves or designers, what they want to hear more of, let us know so we can develop more content and keep it a pretty broad palette of presentations.
Mike, to expand on that, a question that we've been doing quite a few board meetings we've been talking about in education is like, what are the next up and coming ones we want to talk about, right? Or to develop new CEUs. And I briefly brought it up, but I wasn't sure we went back and forth. So I'm going to ask the group, a plantscape specification CEU. Do we want to do that, or do we want, because it would be great. This is the size of the tree, approximate grow pot size, height, width, how many pounds it weighs, the light levels of these different, or somebody brought up a very good point. Do we want to not do that and make sure that they always hire us to be their consultant instead of taking this like ELCA guide type situation, specification guide? I'm on the fence about it. I'd love to hear anybody's input on that, what you think about this new CEU potentially could be about specifications and different irrigation systems, volcaponic. Here's a little section on the lighting guide that, Shane Pliska did a fabulous job on. I can't have a 1 foot depth for a 20-foot tree. I mean, they're not doing that as much, but we're still seeing some pretty stupid stuff.
I've seen that before. I don't know, Jen. I think those are all really interesting ideas, all those topics. And I think to some extent, it's what are the questions we're getting? What are we hearing from those that we're presenting to, right? So that's where we need the feedback.
I mean, I have feedback on would love more specifications. So when I start getting into I know the architects want to hear more about that, or I think Julie brought it before, they want to see designs too. And that's why we tried to do a little bit more heavy on the designs in this last presentation. But designs change pretty quickly too, like trends. And
I think it's such a fine line because you don't want to give them too much where they don't need us. And we find, I mean, how many times does a designer, think that they can do what we do? So one thing that just came to my mind is maybe like the process. Like we're really into what the process is if you want to work with a professional interior scaper, what it looks like. And that way you can give away a little bit of what they need to do, but not give away everything that we need to do, right? I think it's brilliant. I think it's just it's a fine dance.
It is because, on your presentation, it said that a ficus tree weighs 500 pounds, but it weighed 600, and I don't know. Does anybody else have any input on that?
Well, we have one of our little giveaways that we have whenever we do a presentation, we have like a little sheet that is like, because our big pain point, which I'm sure is the same for all of you, is the designers making these really expensive built-ins and then them not fitting the plants that they wanted to put in there. So we've got a little table that it's, for this size plant, which would be roughly this big, this is how deep it needs to be, that kind of thing. And we have Bloom and Flourish all over it. And, we give it to them or we send it to them. So when they reference that, they're like, oh, Bloom and Flourish. So that's just a little giveaway we do ourselves.
That's a good idea. Same thing with the size of the tree, the grow pot size, the dimension, and how much deeper do you need it?
So that's all kind of in this little table. But anyway.
We talked about what we're going to be doing talks on at BOMA and AIA, whatever is going to be. Has anybody heard the word neuroaesthetics?
I've heard of it. I feel like I don't know very much about it.
Well, we're going to be talking about that to BOMA and AIA, but that might be something. I went to see a woman when I spoke at a conference here in the New England area that did a whole thing on neuroaesthetics, and she included biophilic design as a part of it, but it's almost the same thing. It's a balance. So we're going to dive a little bit more into that, I think, and possibly do a CEU next year, depending on our bandwidth. Anybody want to join the education committee? Feel free, or join Sean's committee, supporter development.
I'm solo now. I need some help. Who wants to join?
Come on. Sean needs help. We need
Jen, could you unpack that? Because there was a great email that went out and I've been meaning to reach out to you. Can you kind of unpack what that looks like for those of us that want to jump in and help out? What are the needs? How does it work? What is this?
Okay, so Miss Sarah can put it in the chat right now, can't you? We have you don't have to necessarily join the board, right? We have it broken down if you want to apply to join the board, if you're really interested. There's an application. It kind of gives you an idea of what you want to do, but we have several committees that you can join if you're just a supporter of green plants, and it has been great. We got some new blood this year, to help. So basically, like say the education committee, the supporter development committee, the marketing committee, and am I missing one? There's 4, isn't there? So we meet once a month for a call, and if there's, and we just basically we have one form that shows all the committees and what they're all about. What's the mission and purpose? What, for education, for instance, they're talking about what type of, where are we going to go for conferences? We're going to try and hit 3 next year. It's going to be a big lift. And whether we're speaking at the conferences and hiring speakers to speak, or whether it's in our own industry, or we're taking a booth, which is exciting for the BOMA International next. We're trading plants that hopefully we'll get for free from Florida, because we got the plants free last year for AAA, for a booth.
Wow.
So rental plants are going to be for a booth. That's a lot. That's thousands of dollars. So, the supportive development is to keep the train running, man. We need some good salespeople there and to make some phone calls. Oh my gosh, look at what my business is so successful. I think our business, because of the involvement that I feel I've been in the industry, because I'm always understanding what's new and networking on this call with people, to stay kind of on the sidelines and just think of all the different people you could meet on the same on these committees that have companies that are heavy on design that maybe you could be helpful with, like they, whether it's bigger or smaller companies. So the support
I agree with you, Jan, for sure. I mean, I think having being fairly new to the industry, I think it allows me to build relationships like with Jan, for example, who's been in. So sometimes if there's something that I don't know how to do or it's a job, I can pick Jan's brain because we are friends now, but I just think that making connections in the industry really allows you to do so much more because you've got all those brains to pick, and it's a pretty cool industry. Everyone wants to be helpful and wants to see your success, I think.
And I think we'd like
I
to.
agree. Well, just to capitalize on that, like I know, Jan, you pulled me, drug me into this, but
nice.
I've developed, a lot of great relationships, and Mike and myself have gotten closer, and we got to do a really cool project together. We did a 45-foot tall moss wall where
Nice.
they produced it in Texas and we installed it here in Pennsylvania, so like we are a volunteer organization, so we're successful because of the people that volunteer, and what do they say? 5% of the people do 95% of the work, so we need some people that's going to help in and just help push the industry a little bit farther. We are the industry's PR arm. We try to push the benefits of plants in the built environment, and in turn brings work back to not only the industry, but to us as the professionals as well. So
plus it's good on your resume. Hey, I'm on the board of, or I'm in the, Green Plants for Green Buildings. And then you send them to the website. A lot of people don't realize how, again, when's the last time we all went on the research part of the website? There's a lot of great research that Mary posts every quarter. There's 3 minimum topics or research papers or studies about our industry. And it's not just biophilic design, it could be anything. So Julie,
that's
love to
well
have
said, guys. If anybody, Julie wants to get involved, everybody I see on the call here, Kevin,
well, I think
Rebecca,
we
who
should
already
build
is
the
doing
bench.
things.
I think we need some youngsters here. Who's young?
Just
I
some
mean, I'm
other
getting old, man.
other,
It's tired.
other
Anybody gonna be
insights.
President next year? Anybody? No?
Other insights. It makes us stronger. So we do have the form. Jen mentioned if you're interested in actually being on the board, but even committees, Mr. Correct me if I'm wrong, but even if you have interest in a committee, we do have a form that you can, just a little data about yourself, which committee you're interested in, and why you think you could make a difference. So what we don't want to do is say, hey, I'm on a committee, but you don't want to be involved or make meetings or that type of thing. So just make a commitment. It's not it's a monthly meeting, and strategizing so how we can make the industry better. So come join us, please.
Hey, question, Mr. Would you send the form out, or is it on the website? I'm looking on the website to join.
That's a good question. We need to get it on the website if it's not there.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure if it's on the website. I can check that out, but it is in the Nature in the News. There's a link to it every month in that. And there was an email probably a month or so ago. But email me, admin@gpgb.org, and I can send it to you directly and answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, I've got it right here. GPGB committee volunteer form. So we need to get it out to everybody, and we'll have copies at TPIE for anybody who is going to be down there joining us. You can pick up a copy there. But guys, I've got to run. So great to see everybody. You all still going to go? Sean, you want to wrap it?
I think we're going to wrap up. The only thing I have to say here is I really believe in the registered trainer program. It does take effort and work. It doesn't just something you buy and you just let it sit on your computer and it's going to do the work for you. It's not as daunting as it may seem going up. I know public speaking can be a little bit, nerve-wracking for some people. It was for me at one point, but I just practiced in front of my team. It gave them some knowledge. I worked out the kinks ahead of time. They got to learn, I got to learn, I got to practice. And then, I went and did it. And I brought some, like Rebecca said, she brought some of her designs. I bring some support with me so I don't feel like I'm solo and by myself, and it becomes easier over time. It becomes second nature, and there's a huge return. Like at first, yes, you're probably gonna have to put out a little bit of money, but the project, your name's going to get out there. It's direct marketing in front of the people, the specifiers, and you're right there. You're looked at as the professional, the expert in the field, and people will start to lean on you and your company, and it's a great return on investment for that stuff for you guys.
God, that's one other thing, because I've been the only one the whole time doing these CEUs, because a lot of people don't like it. I've started to groom one of my employees to our team. And the best way to do it is, again, she did a lunch and learn for our staff, which was really good, because how many people on your staff doesn't know? They don't know about living walls. They don't know about biofluid design. Some of them don't. Secondly, the next step that she did was she comes to them, and I have her be a part of a little bit, like asking the questions for the plant giveaways and all that. So gets her really kind of more comfortable. And then third, she just did a presentation for Boston University for an architectural class. They're always asking us to do. And don't underestimate the future of architects, right? We do a lot of universities. I did a 500, that was a little daunting, 500 students in an auditorium. I'm like, at 4:00. I was like, does everybody have their Red Bull? And they had to do a presentation, but they are the future, right? They are the future of our industry, of whether they're going to be green or not green, like specified plants. But I think there's steps on ways, like Sean just said, to take to get you more comfortable. Do it to your team. Go to like a local vocational school or a school, then attend with maybe somebody else, or if you don't have anybody else that does them, just come to Boston, come with me. You can come shadow me anytime.
She might ask you to babysit her kids for like a week straight, but just be
Sean, they're 22 now, 24. Sean came and he never left for a week and a half.
Developed a Boston accent after 10 days.
Some shout out.
Hey, it's great to see everybody. Sean, thank you for leading, and Rebecca, thank you for leading it. It's great to see everybody.
Yep. And thank you, Rebecca, for being our expert on this panel for today. So
no worries. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good to see a lot of people.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Julie. Bye.